Hey everyone, Mo here, and before the video begins, I just want to let you guys know that my schedule has opened up for me to do coaching again. So if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching for me to help you, whether you're a newer player and you want to excel at the game very quickly and learn the fundamentals without developing any bad habits early, or if you're an experienced player who's already maybe platinum or diamond in your top 1%, but you need some help filling in the gap to get you to that 0.01%, to make you just some of the best, then hit me up on Discord and I can get you in some private one-on-one coaching lessons to help you polish up any skills you want to refine and help you learn all of the secrets to becoming a top player. That's it. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey everybody, Mo here, and today I'm bringing you guys another Meta Monday. So this is the Meta Monday before seasonals. So I'm going to go over what the most played decks on ladder are if you're trying to really grind out for that 7-2 seeding if you're already in Masters, or if you're just trying to hit Masters quickly to qualify for seasonals. This could give you an idea of what the ladder looks like, what decks are performing well, and what decks you can use to gain that last amount of LP needed to hit whatever it is your goal is. So we're going to go over use Runeterra.ar. We're going to look at the top 8 most played decks on ladder, kind of see what their matchups are, what you can do, what I recommend for the decks to try to beat these decks, stuff like that. But before we get into the stats, I wanted to remind you guys that only 68% of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed to me. So if you guys could do me a huge favor and click the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it, and it helped me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm and everything like that. So that's it for the intro. Let's just jump right into the stats, because I want to talk a little bit more about seasonals and seasonal lineups. So this Meta Monday is going to be like kind of quickly going over the meta as far as like what's played on ladder, and I'll mostly be talking about tournament meta and like what to look at for tournament decks towards the second half of this video. So let's get into it. So number one, most played deck, NETF, 50% win rate. I think this win rate should be a lot lower. I think NETF is definitely a noob stomper. So it really punishes like players that don't actually know how to play into Noxus, or players that don't know how to play into this archetype. It's really bad into a lot of the top tier decks. Like, it's bad into Nami TF, bad into Thralls. I'm sure you don't do too well into Burn. Probably bad into Renekton Auction. I'm not really sure here. I'm not sure, but I would assume you're not very good into Renekton Auction, because their spell shielded unit kind of just kills you. And then we have, Aphelios. It does really well into Aphelios, and it loses really hard to Azir. So out of the top 8 decks, you have one good matchup, two good matchups out of the entire like other top 8. So it's not really worth playing. It's just very good at beating bad players. It's very much like my bad player is just running cards into me, so I get to run my cards at them, and then you get maximum value for all your kill spells. I'm not a huge fan of this deck. I never have been a fan of the like Noxus mid-range decks. I think they've all been pretty mid, like not very good. You have to 2-for-1 yourself on almost every trade with a good unit, and then you play like this version plays a bunch of card draw, but if you don't draw that card draw, you just run out of steam really quickly. Or if you draw too much card draw, then you don't actually get to play your cards, and you just died too fast. You died too easily. Number 2 is Thralls. Thralls is back. Thralls has been really good. The win rate was at like 58%. It had like a 58% win rate a couple days ago, but more people picked it up because they realized how good it was. So again, the win rate dropped to 56%. So this literally just shows you, again, this proves how like much win rates can drop based on play rate. Like this deck, when no one was playing it, when only the people that were good at Talia Lissandra were playing the deck, had an almost 60% win rate. And then within a couple of days, everyone else started playing it, and the win rate's already dropped 2%. So if you didn't believe that the stats are kind of wonky, kind of whatever, this should show you. So yeah, so deck's pretty good. Has really good matchups for like basically beats NETF, which is the most played deck, beats Aphelios, which is one of the most played decks, really well. You're gonna lose to like Burn really hard. You're losing to Azir Aurelia really hard. You should be losing to good TF Nami players, but on ladder, most TF Nami players aren't good, so you guess you don't really have to worry about that. But yeah, it's not really good into that matchup, but it's very simple. It's very simple. Beats the like most played deck, beats the another like really top played deck. Third is Burn. Burn's making a comeback. I think Burn's actually not that bad. I think Burn it beats Thralls, which is really good. Where's Thralls at? It beats Thralls like really easily, beats Azir Aurelia. It beats basically like any kind of weird slow like Dirtle deck that people are playing. Like it smokes Ari Bard. So Ari Bard's popular, beats any type of slow mid-rangey style deck. It struggles really hard against aggro decks, and it struggles really hard against decks that have like rallies. So like the Puppy Bard deck here does really good into aggro because it plays a bunch of cheap units to block your units early, but then it has rallies to kind of pressure you. Same with like Annie Jit or Annie Ziggs, you're just losing to like the Burn Mirror match, right? So it's losing to, yeah, see, aggro probably. Like aggro. So it loses to a lot of aggro itself, but it beats a lot of the slow decks and the control decks. So Burn's definitely something to look at. TF Nami, the 50% win rate is an absolute joke. This deck is still extremely dominant. Yeah, worst matchups being Thralls is not very true. Deck beats Thralls. It's just like, I think people just don't really know how to play Nami TF well. And because of that, the win rate is really low. Like, this is barely tier 2. Like a 50% win rate is like a tier 2 deck, essentially. So the stats are saying that this deck is barely tier 2, and I don't really believe that. I think this is like the second best deck in the game, right behind like the Felios discard. Probably the best deck in the game, but I'll settle with you guys and call it the second best deck, just so I don't have people screaming at me in the comment section about how like bad the deck is. Number 5 is Scouts. Scouts is pretty fun. I think Scouts is really underplayed right now, to be honest with you. I know it's like in the top 8 for play rates, but I think it's even more underplayed than it should be. 54% win rate, pretty fine. Probably should be higher. I think, yeah, really good into Ari Bard, really good into TF Nami. It's like okay into Aphelios decks. I think good, well-built Aphelios decks it's like okay into. But it, yeah, it's really aggro, beats a bunch of good stuff. It loses to like all the Demacia decks, loses to all the mid-range decks, loses to... It's actually not that great into Thralls anymore. Contrary to popular belief. It's like, oh, it's okay into Thralls, but it's not like the like 60-40, 70-30 matchup that it used to be with like Poppy Zed or Poppy Lulu. Zed Lulu. It's definitely not like that crazy of a matchup anymore. It's a lot closer to 50-50, but you beat a lot of the slower decks. Auction Renekton, again, really popular deck. All of a sudden kind of blew up out of nowhere. I don't actually think this deck is that good. I don't think the deck is bad. I just think that a lot of people don't really know how to play against it, and it's a very cheesy deck. It's just a deck that like punishes you for not running much interaction. So if you don't play ways to actually kill the Ruin Runner, then you're going to get smoked. But a lot of the good decks do have ways to kill Ruin Runner. Like Aphelios is good into this deck. TF Nami is good into this deck. Ari Bard has like a bunch of homecomings and stuff to deal with it. So you have to have like exactly Ruin Runner. Also, if this deck doesn't draw a Ruin Runner, it goes from like potential tier 1 to like tier 9 instantly. Like, if you don't have Ruin Runner, you have to have like Renekton plus Friendship. First of all, you have to be playing Friendship, which I don't even think most people are. But even if you are, you have to be playing Renekton plus Friendship, and that feels like not very good. That's so much more mana than just having Ruin Runner. So anytime the deck doesn't play Papercraft Dragon, you're losing. Anytime the deck doesn't draw Ruin Runner or Friendship, you're losing. So this deck is like very mid. It's just like, it's a weird to me because it's a combo deck, but you're not playing anything to like set up your combo. Like, I know some people are like, play the 2 mana 2/3 Chronomancer that predicts for you, and I think that card's fine. I don't think that card is like great. I definitely don't think you have enough predicts to be you don't have enough predicts to be making it a consistent combo deck. I think people should lean away from this like mid-range shit with like Conkologist and like stuff like that, and probably just go all in on combo and just take out Conkologist for like the 1 mana predict thing, take out Rockhopper for like the 2 mana predict guy, like literally just, or take out like Vagabond, I don't know, like find a way to just predict, like fuck it dude, just predict into your broken combo. Like Ruin Runner Papercraft Dragon's really strong. We've known that since like day 1 of Papercraft Dragon coming out. So why not just like go all in on this combo? Like stop playing this like really bad mid-range deck and then like hoping you hit Ruin Runner Papercraft, you know? Like just build the deck better. I think that would make the deck a lot better if you built it that way. But as of right now, I don't think it's very impressive. Number 7 on the play rate, which is really interesting to me, is Zoe via Aphelios. Yeah, I think it's pretty well understood that this is the best deck in the game by a lot. Also, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's only like the lowest play rate because it's breaking up every single version of it. So like you have the like Victor Aphelios Vi is 1.84. Aphelios Zoe Vi is 2. So that right there brings it up to like 3.9% play rate, which would put it where it put it at third. And this also isn't counting versions of just Aphelios and Zoe, like people that aren't playing Vi or Victor. So I'm sure once you play like, yeah, another 0.6, because this is playing Vi with no Victor with no Aphelios. Here's another 0.5, so that's another 1% right there. So this is, and then plus again, just the Zoe. So that's another 1%. So that takes you up to 4.9% play rate. And that's not counting just the Aphelios Zoe. So 4.9% play rate is literally the most played deck in the game by like 0.5%, not even including all of the final versions of it. So this, again, this is, don't let stats mislead you. This is definitely the most played deck in the game. Some variant of it anyways. And for good reason, deck's pretty broken. I think, I'm not going to spoil too much tech because I do have seasonals coming up. But I will let you know that I think people are building this deck like really poorly. And if you build the deck correctly, it's like really broken. Like it goes from being the best deck in the game to like, holy shit, this deck's like unbeatable type deck. Like it's really fucking good if you build it with the right tech cards inside of it. It gives you like, first of all, it makes your matchups that you're already winning win harder. And then it gives you a chance in your bad matchups, you actually have a chance to win, like your FTR, your Thralls, stuff like that. Your like Scouts is supposed to be a bad matchup. Like you actually have a chance to win those matchups now with if you build the deck correctly. Which to find out how to build the deck correctly, I'd recommend just probably looking at the pilots that have the highest win rate and then yoinking those decks from it. So you probably like drop down here, I think. Does this drop it down? I don't know. I think if I refresh, it'll drop it down. But yeah, try and find the pilots with the highest win rate. Take their deck list because it's probably correct. And then number 8 is Azir Aurelia coming in at just 50% win rate. Also, this deck having a 51% win rate is kind of a joke. Azir Aurelia coming in at 50% win rate. It's really good into the like matchups trying to beat Aphelios. So you have this like big triangle right now of the best deck in the game, which is Aphelios and like Nami are the 2 best decks. You have the decks trying to beat those, which is your like Thralls, Feel the Rush, like stuff like that. And then you have the decks trying to beat those decks. So it's like rock, paper, scissors meta, right? And that's what Azir Aurelia does pretty well. And that's what like Scouts does, is it beats all the decks trying to beat Aphelios by beating things like, the Mono Shurima, the Targon's Peak, FTR, Thralls, like Timelines, Anivia, stuff like that. So this deck is also really good into TF Nami, by the way. So this deck's really good into TF Nami, and you beat the like Aphelios counters. Azir Aurelia is really, really strong. Like and then right under that is Ari Bard, has almost the same tables as Azir Aurelia. So what I would recommend for ladder is I would highly recommend something that doesn't fold into Aphelios, but also beats other things, which is like, you kind of have to pick a lane, really. You either have to be weak to Aphelios, but beat everything else, or beat Aphelios and then be okay with like losing to some of the like fringier stuff. So that's why Thralls is so popular and so good, because Thralls like beats Aphelios really hard, like really, really hard. You'll beat almost every Aphelios player on ladder with Thralls. So you play Thralls and then you just like hope to not get counter queued by like Burn or a good TF Nami player, Azir Aurelia, Ari Bard, stuff like that. Like if you can avoid the Ari Bard and the Azir Aurelia, then you just like smoke like Aphelios Zoe, Aphelios PNZ, and just like other like bad Nami players, stuff like that. The anti-TF, like Thralls is really good. Like I'd highly recommend playing Thralls for this week. Since it's such a short period of time, you have like the rest of today, which is Monday, you have Tuesday, Wednesday, and then like Thursday until midnight. So you only have like 4.5 days really, since today's mostly over. You only have 4.5 days to climb. I'd recommend Thralls. It just has really good matchup tables right now. And you don't lose to enough. Like there's not enough decks that beat you that make you scared to do it. So that's it for the Meta Monday as far as ladder goes. For tournament, there's a couple tournament lineups you can play. I'm going to go over this kind of briefly. But yeah, the main thing for tournaments is trying to find a cohesive lineup and a lineup that you really enjoy. So it really like a couple strategies. There's a couple strategies here. You could play the like just play good decks, bring the best deck strategy. That's what I'm personally doing. I'm going to be bringing Nami TF, Aphelios PNZ, and Bard Demacia. So I'm just bringing what I think are the 3 best decks in the game. I play them very well. I have hundreds of games on each of them, have lots of practice. So the goal is to just kind of skill diff, people for about 5 rounds that I can, like random people that I can probably beat for 5 rounds, and then try and squeeze out 2 games against really good players in the last 4 rounds because I have the 7-2 seeding, so I can afford to lose twice. So goal is to go 2-2 minimum against good players after round 5, and then go 5-0 before round, or go 5-0 at the start of the tournament against random players. So there's that lineup. And then there's the hard targeting lineups. There's a couple different strategies you could do. So I'm not a huge fan of the hard targeting strategies because you have to realize that while things like Aphelios PNZ is the most played deck on ladder, and like Thralls is the second most played deck on ladder or whatever, is like the difference between the people that play ladder and the people that play tournaments is really big because of a lot of people aren't really used to it. So most people are just going to bring 3 decks that they actually just like enjoy, or 3 decks that they have fun with, or 3 decks that they think are good. And that's not always like the decks that are actually good or the decks that they should be bringing, right? So like you can't really game theory optimize for Swiss rounds when it's like an 1,100 person tournament, and like I'm not going to cap. I don't even know if I can name like 100 good Americas players, like period. Like, I don't think I could give you 100, like, top-tier Americas players. Nevertheless, 1,100 players, right? So, like, playing in tournaments, like smaller grassroots tournaments, you can call what the meta is going to be pretty easily because there's very few people, and many people set time aside of their day, like, every week to play in this tournament, and they're, like, dedicated to the competitive scene. So you, like, have an idea of, like, oh, they're here for a reason. They've done their research. They've done their practice. Like, they know what they're doing. Whereas the other people in seasonals is completely different because it's going to be a lot of people that just get a notification that like accidentally qualified or something, or they're like queued up for Gauntlet like this last week because it was fun and they won, and they're just going to get a notification that says like, oh, seasonal check-in is here, like make sure to check in, and they're going to be like, oh, I'm qualified for seasonals, or oh yeah, I guess I'll play in seasonals, why not? And they'll just check in and just bring 3 decks, right, that they just like find fun and enjoy. So that's why I'm not really a fan of the targeting strategy for for open rounds. But if you're interested in that and you really want to beat something, obviously I highly recommend the most played decks, right? So I highly recommend like Thralls or Aphelios or TF Nami. Like you take Aphelios, TF Nami, or Thralls, you hard target one of those, and then you just hope to see one of them every round. And of course the downside to that is if you don't, you're probably playing like super polarizing decks, meaning that if you don't hit one of those, there's chances that you're going to lose really hard. Of course, the benefit is if you hit one, you're going to win really hard, but you don't always hit. You don't always hit what you need to. But yeah, if you wanted to do that, the anti-Lysandra Thralls lineup is like something like Burn, Azir Aurelia, Ari Bard. Like Burn, Azir Aurelia, Ari Bard is like a really good lineup if you want to target Thralls. If you want to target TF Nami, your lineup's probably going to be like Scout, Azir Aurelia. I don't really know a third deck that beats TF Nami very well, but Riven Fizz, I guess. So like Riven Fizz, Scouts, Azir Aurelia. If you want to hard target TF Nami, if you want to hard target Aphelios, you play like Thralls, Scouts, like Fielder Rush with you just play like Fielder Rush, Thralls, and Scouts is like pretty fine into hard targeting Aphelios decks. So those are, I probably wouldn't try to hard target anything outside of those 3 just because those are the 3 most popular decks by far, and they're the 3 like best decks. Like you could hard target Aphelios or TF Annie, but that deck is just so bad that most good decks beat it. Like let's look at the worst look at your worst matchups, right? Like you're losing to Aphelios PNZ, you're losing to Timelines, you're losing to Thralls, like you're already losing to TF Nami, like you're already losing Echo Zillion. You're already losing the Scouts. Like, this deck is just so bad. Bard Demacia. like, this deck doesn't actually beat anything relevant. So I don't know why you would ever bring this deck, basically. Unless you enjoy it. I mean, if you enjoy it and you play it to have fun, then I'm not going to stop you, right? Like, fuck it, have fun. But, yeah, I'd probably just hard target one of those three if I were you. So I would go with the just, like, play generalized, like, good lineup, play hard target lineup, and there's also just some other, like, find an archetype that you enjoy or find an archetype that you want to play and just play 3 of that, right? So, like, Papercraft Dragon. Like, you could play Fizz Riven, Ophelia, or Fizz Riven, Auction, Renekton, and then, like, Aphelios something else, right? And then just play, like, all of these Papercraft Dragons or these, like, Rainbow Fish type stuff. Like you could do anything really of that nature. The main goal is just you want to make sure that your lineup's kind of cohesive and that the matchup tables line up. Like, if your matchup tables don't line up, then it's gonna be really awkward in some rounds because you're gonna be able to, like, oh, I beat 2 of these decks and lose to 1, or like 2 of my decks beat this one but 1 loses. 2 of my decks beat that one but 1 loses. 2 of my decks beat this one and 1 loses. And you're gonna have a lot of these, like, coin flip 50-50s of, like, well, I hope they don't queue up this deck first because I will lose stuff type of scenarios, right? So that's the biggest thing, is just to make sure your lineup is cohesive. But yeah, if you guys want to know what lineup I'm gonna be on, I've been locked in for like 2 weeks practicing. I'm gonna be on Nami TF, Aphelios. I'll probably be on Aphelios Vi Zoe. I'm not a fan of Victor, so I'll be on Aphelios Vi Zoe, Nami TF, and Bard Demacia with Bard, 2 Poppies, and 1 Jarvan. So pretty similar to this list right here, number 15. So pretty similar to this list as well. Or let me see this list. Yeah, almost like, oh, I'm not playing Esmus. That card's ass. But yeah, I'll be on like triple Protege. But everything else looks about right. Yeah, everything else looks about right. Probably something like extremely close to this list, almost exactly. So yeah, so that's it. That's the Meta Monday. That's gonna be my meta call for the this week. If you want to, try and hit the goal, I recommend playing Thralls. For seasonals, I think the most played deck is gonna be Aphelios Vi Zoe, Thralls, or Nami. So if you want a hard target, I'd recommend one of those. But my biggest recommendation is just play the 3 generic good decks that have kind of cohesive matchup tables. But that's gonna be it for this Meta Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments down below that you enjoy these competitive style videos, and let me know if you already have your seasonal lineup picked out. Let me know what decks you plan to play in seasonals, or what decks have been doing really well for you on ladder. But that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.